Jai Hind everyone. Myself Dr. Vanna Sharma from Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. The subject which I am taking, subject is Engineering Physics, code is KS101T. The topic which I have started, topic is Modern Physics. And the topics which I have already completed under Modern Physics, those topics are, we have completed this black body radiation. So we have discussed what is the meaning of black body radiations, what is Been's law, which is also known as Been's displacement law. We have discussed about Stephen's law, which gives the energy radiated by a perfectly black body, and that energy radiated per unit area, per unit time, that depends upon fourth power of absolute temperature. So we have discussed about the Stephen's law. We have discussed about Rayleigh-Jeans law, which was given by Lord Rayleigh and Jeans, and basically they explain the black body radiation spectrum at the longer wavelength region, but that law was not applicable for the shorter wavelength range. So after this black body radiation spectrum, using classical theory, since no mathematical expression, no formula was able to explain the entire spectrum, so Max Planck in 1901 he proposed a new theory known as Planck's quantum theory, and on the basis of that Planck's quantum theory, he gave a law which is known as Planck's radiation law, and that Planck's radiation law that was able to explain the entire spectrum. So we have already discussed about this Planck's radiation law. So actually that Planck's quantum theory or this Planck's radiation law, that was the starting point of quantum theory or quantum mechanics, or you can say modern physics. So in this modern physics, we are having this concept of wave particle duality. We have already discussed this topic of wave particle duality, where we have discussed that since light is having dual nature, sometime light is showing particle nature and sometime it is showing wave nature, because light can show interference, diffraction and polarization. So light is having wave nature, and since light can show photoelectric effect, Compton effect, and only when you will consider light as a particle, you can explain these phenomena. So de Broglie he proposed that since this dual nature is applicable for electromagnetic radiations, similarly whenever we have a microscopic particle, whether the particle is charged or uncharged, in both the cases whenever you are having a microscopic moving particle, it is associated with matter wave, or you can say that de Broglie wave. And this matter wave, its wavelength, the wavelength associated with that matter wave, that was given by de Broglie, and the most general expression for de Broglie wavelength is lambda is equal to h upon mv. And a very important or interesting fact that came from this equation, that the left hand side you are having this wavelength, and you know wavelength is the characteristic of wave, and on the right hand side this h is Planck's constant, whereas m into v, it is momentum of the particle. So this right hand side that belongs to particle nature, whereas left hand side belongs to wave nature. So this beautiful equation, this is a correlation between particle and wave nature. Later on what we have done, we have written this de Broglie wavelength in terms of different parameters. For example, we have expressed this de Broglie wavelength in terms of kinetic energy. For a charged particle, we have expressed this equation in terms of potential difference. We have expressed this concept of matter wave or wavelength of matter wave in terms of temperature by using kinetic theory of gases. So we have discussed about different forms of this de Broglie wavelength using different concepts of And now the next topic which today I am going to discuss, and which is again a very important point or very important equation which is related to modern physics, right? And the topic for today's discussion is Schrodinger wave equations and Schrodinger wave function. So first I will try to explain what is the meaning of this Schrodinger wave equation and wave function. So I am going to start with it. So topic for today's discussion is Schrodinger wave equation. So first I am giving you a small introduction of this, that from where you are getting these equations and why these equations are known as Schrodinger equations, and whether there is only one equation or more than one equation, right? So as you know, when light is propagating in a certain medium, when an electromagnetic pulse, when it is propagating in a certain medium, it carries electrical energy as well as magnetic energy with it, right? And whenever you have electromagnetic pulse, we are having electric field vector, a magnetic field vector, and there will be a direction of propagation. And if you remember, then in electromagnetics, we have derived electromagnetic wave equations in different mediums. We have derived electromagnetic wave equation in free space, in a dielectric medium, in a conducting medium. We have derived those equations. And what we have observed there, that in each and every case, whenever you want to describe the wave nature, we are having a second order partial differential equation. Why a second order partial differential equation is there? Because whenever you want to describe wave nature, you will describe with the help of a second order partial differential equation. If you remember, then we have derived those electromagnetic wave equations with the help of Maxwell equations. And if I am talking about vacuum or in free space, then you might have remember this, that the electromagnetic wave equations in free space in terms of electric field, this is the equation: del square E minus mu naught epsilon naught del square E upon del T square equals to 0. This was the electromagnetic wave equation in free space in terms of electric field. And you know, you are having a similar type of equation in terms of magnetic field: del square H minus mu naught epsilon naught del square H upon del T square equals to 0. So these are the two electromagnetic wave equations in free space in terms of electric field, and another one is in terms of magnetic field, right? And you know, only this type of second order partial differential equation that can represent wave nature. Clear? So in quantum mechanics or in modern physics, what concept we have? We have this concept that we are having a microscopic particle, right? This particular concept of matter wave or de Broglie wave, that is applicable only in microscopic world. So you have a microscopic particle and this particle is moving. So you have this, a microscopic particle is there and that particle is moving. Then according to the concept of matter wave, this moving microscopic particle will be associated with a matter wave and its wavelength will be h upon mv. This is the concept of matter wave, right? So now you have a particle and that particle is moving. It is associated with wave nature. And if you want to describe that wave nature, then a second order partial differential equation that can describe the wave nature or wave behavior. So Schrodinger in 1926, he proposed that if we can represent the electromagnetic radiations with such type of second order partial differential equations which are in terms of E and H, then on the similar lines, if we want to describe the wave nature associated with the moving microscopic particle, that will be a similar type of second order partial differential equation. I am repeating what I have said. According to Schrodinger, in 1926, he proposed that if electromagnetic radiation or if electromagnetic wave, if its wave nature can be represented by a second order partial differential equation, and you know, in case of electromagnetic radiation, that equation, that second order partial differential equation, that equation will be in terms of E and H. So these two equations, they are going to represent the wave nature associated with the moving associated with the electromagnetic pulse in vacuum or in free space. So Schrodinger proposed that if the wave nature can be expressed for electromagnetic pulse with the help of these second order partial differential equations, then on the similar lines, if we are having this microscopic particle which is moving and which is associated with wave nature or a matter wave, then in order to describe that wave nature, again we are having a second order partial differential equation. That second order partial differential equation that will do the needful. And he proposed that instead of E and H, which are the core ingredient in case of electromagnetic wave, in case of modern physics or these matter wave, the function in terms of which you are going to write that second order partial differential equation, he proposed a new function. He proposed that second order partial differential equation, which is known as wave equation, in terms of a function which is known as Schrodinger wave function, and that Schrodinger wave function is denoted by this psi. So I hope now the meaning of Schrodinger wave equation is clear. What I have told you, that since a electromagnetic radiation that can be represented by a second order partial differential equation in terms of E and H, because E and H, these are the core ingredient for electromagnetic pulse. So Schrodinger proposed that if the wave nature of electromagnetic pulse can be represented by these equations, then for such type of moving microscopic particle which is associated with the matter wave, its wave nature is again expressed in terms of a second order partial differential equation, but that equation is not in terms of E and H. That equation is in terms of this wave function psi, right? And this wave function is known as Schrodinger wave function. And that second order partial differential equation, which is known as wave equation, which will describe the wave nature of this matter wave, that is known as your Schrodinger wave equation, right? So I'm going to now show this slide where the introduction of this Schrodinger wave equation is given. So just give me 1 minute. So Schrodinger proposed that wave function describing the matter wave associated with the particle satisfies a partial differential equation with space and time as independent variable, and gave a prescription for writing down the equation for any particular system of particle. So Schrodinger proposed a new function, and that function is known as psi, and this is known as Schrodinger wave function, and this wave function psi is a function of space coordinates, means this wave function depends upon x, y and z, as well as this wave function is a function of time. Schrodinger got this wave equation for describing atomic processes by pure thought without any regard to the experimental development of the time. So what Schrodinger has done, he had just generalized the electromagnetic wave equation. On the basis of that equation, he proposed a new equation which is known as Schrodinger wave equation, right? And that equation is applicable to describe the wave nature associated with moving microscopic particles. Those particles can be charged, those particles can be uncharged particles, right? According to de Broglie's concept of matter wave, every moving particle is associated with a wave. You know that Schrodinger introduced a mathematical function which I have already mentioned. That function is represented by psi, which is a variable quantity associated with moving particle, is called wave function. So this function psi is known as, since it was proposed by Schrodinger, known as Schrodinger wave function, and this wave function is a function of space coordinates, that is x, y and z, as well as it is a function of time. Clear? So now I am going to derive this, I am going to write this Schrodinger wave equation, that how that equation was obtained. And Schrodinger wave equation is actually of two types, means you can write that Schrodinger wave equation in two forms. The first one, the time independent Schrodinger wave equation, and the second form is time dependent. So first we will try to understand that what is the meaning of time independent and time dependent. So for this I am taking this blank slide. Suppose you have a particle, you have this microscopic particle, and this particle is moving. You know this particle is associated with matter wave, right? And in order to describe this wave nature, you have a second order partial differential equation, just like electromagnetic wave equation. So you have a second order partial differential equation, and that equation was generalized by Schrodinger on the basis of electromagnetic wave equations. So the equation which was proposed by Schrodinger. That equation is like this: del square psi minus 1 upon v square del square psi upon del t square equals to 0. As you can see here, this equation is again a second order partial differential equation, but this equation is in terms of psi, that is your Schrodinger wave function, and this wave function is a function of x, y, z as well as t, right? And in case of electromagnetic wave equation, your equation was in terms of E and H, and instead of 1 upon v square, you are having mu naught epsilon naught there, and you know that 1 upon v square is mu naught epsilon naught there. So this is the general wave equation. So this equation was proposed by Schrodinger, right? So this is your second order partial differential equation. Now in this equation, if you will solve it, you will get the value of wave function, and the wave function, that is a heart of Schrodinger wave function, that is a heart of modern physics, that is a heart of quantum mechanics. Why I am saying so? Because in quantum mechanics, in modern physics, if you want to describe any parameter related with that moving microscopic particle, then this wave function will do the needful. Means you can get the entire information about any microscopic system using that wave function psi. So that is the reason the psi is a very important function here. And in order to find that psi, what you have to do, you have to just simplify this second order partial differential equation. This equation is in 3 dimension, means when the particle is having movement along all the 3 directions, then this is a Schrodinger wave equation in 3 dimension. If the particle's movement is confined only in one direction, then instead of this Laplacian operator, you will have that particular, suppose the particle is moving only along x-axis. In that case, instead of this Laplacian operator, we are having this del square psi upon del x square. But the difference between these two is, here the psi is a function of x, y, z and t. But in case of one dimension, psi will be a function of x and t. So that is the difference between these two. I hope this is clear. So what I was trying to explain here, suppose you have a particle and let that particle is moving, right? If a particle is moving and if the energy of that particle is same at 2 different times. So what I am trying to say, if the energy of particle at time t1 is energy is E, at time t2 again the energy is E, means that energy is not changing with time, that energy is independent of time. So in that case, when the particle is moving and you want to represent the wave nature associated with that moving microscopic particle, then the form of this second order partial differential equation which you are going to apply, that will be your time independent form, means you are going to apply time independent Schrodinger wave equation there. So what I have explained, if you have a microscopic system, if you have a microscopic particle and if that particle is moving and if its energy is independent of time, then the second order partial differential equation which will describe the wave nature, that will be your time independent equation. And the second case is, if you have a system in which at time t1 let E1 is the energy and at time t2 let E2 is the energy, and if these two energies are different, means E1 is not equal to E2, means now the energy is depending upon the time, means at different times the energy of that microscopic system is different. So in order to describe the wave nature associated with such type of system, you are going to use Schrodinger wave equation which is having time dependent form. So two type of, means this general equation that can be written in 2 forms. One where the energy is independent of time, the microscopic system which you are discussing, if the energy of that system is independent of time, then that type of Schrodinger equation will be time independent equation, and in that equation the wave function will be independent of time, means I will be a function of x, y and z there. And the second case is when you are having a microscopic system, and if the energy is depending upon time, means at different times if the energy is different, then the second order partial differential equation that will take a new form which is known as time dependent form. But both the forms, that is time independent as well as time dependent, they are obtained from the same Schrodinger wave equation, and those two forms, they are nothing new. You can derive time independent from time dependent and time dependent from time independent, means they are the form of a same equation, but you have to represent that Schrodinger's general equation in two different forms just to satisfy the conditions. If you are having time independent, if you are having a system where the energy is time independent, you will apply time independent equation. If you are having a system where the energy is time dependent, then you will apply that second type of equation. So what I am going to do here, I am going to write those two different types of Schrodinger equation. I hope everything is clear up to here. So now I am going to derive that Schrodinger time independent part, means we are going to eliminate all the functions, all the terms which contains time, the factor which contains a time dependent factor, right. So in order to do this, we are having this time independent Schrodinger wave equation. So I am starting with this. So in many cases, the force acting upon a particle or energy does not depends upon time. So as I have mentioned, when the energy is not depending upon time but vary with position of particle, means that energy is a function of only the position coordinates or x, y and z, that is independent of t. The differential equation describing this situation is known as time independent Schrodinger equation. I hope this is clear. So according to the general form of Schrodinger equation, so as I have mentioned in the last slide, that the most general form of second order partial differential equation or wave equation is del square phi minus 1 upon v square del square phi upon del t square. This is a general wave equation in terms of a function phi, right. And you can write this equation like this. You know, this is Laplacian operator. It consists of all the three components here. So del square phi upon del x square plus del square phi upon del y square plus del square phi upon del z square. And you know, in free space, if you are talking about electromagnetic pulse, then electromagnetic pulse always travels with speed of light. In that case, you can write it like this: equals to 1 upon c square del square phi upon del t square, where phi is a function of x, y and x, y, z as well as t, right. But Schrodinger, he proposed this equation in terms of a new function. As I have told you that Schrodinger proposed a new function which is the base of quantum mechanics, and you can describe any parameter with the help of this. So that equation was proposed in terms of this function psi. So the new form, or you can say this is the general Schrodinger wave equation: del square psi upon del x square plus del square psi upon del y square plus del square psi upon del z square equals to 1 upon v square del square psi upon del t square. I hope you know what the psi is a function of. Psi depends upon all the position coordinates, that is x, y as well as z, and it also depends upon time coordinates. So psi is a function of x, y, z and t. So this is a general Schrodinger wave equation. Clear? And this equation is written in component form, and you know, in simplest form you can also write this as del square psi equals to 1 upon v square del square psi upon del t square. I hope mathematically it is clear that this del square is del square upon del x square plus del square upon del y square plus del square upon del z square. Now the next part is, if you will solve this equation, if you will simplify it, you will get the solution of this equation. Means you will get the value of wave function psi, and that psi, when you will simplify it, you will get psi, and you know psi is a function of x, y, z and t. So psi is a function of space coordinates and a time coordinate. And you know, if a function depends upon two different type, if you are having a function f which depends upon x and y, then you can write that f as a product of two functions, where the first one depends upon x and the second one depends upon y. You have psi here, and that psi depends upon space coordinates, and that psi also depends upon time coordinate. It means we can write psi as a function, as a product of two functions, where the first one that depends only upon space coordinates, and the second one that depends upon a time dependent function, or that depends upon time. Means this psi, which is a solution of equation number 1, that can be expressed as a product of two functions. So since you are simplifying that equation number 1, you are getting the value of psi, and that psi will be a function of x, y, z and t. But you can write that psi as a product of two functions, where the first one that depends upon only space coordinates, and the second function, which is represented by f, that depends upon time. You have to understand this this fact here. I am saying if f is a function of x and y, then you can write f as a product of two functions, f1 and f2, where f1 is a function of x and f2 is a function of y. On the similar line, what we have done, since psi is a function of x, y, z, these are the space coordinates, and psi is also function of a time coordinate, which is t. So we have represented psi as a product of two functions, where the first one is again represented by psi, but the difference is this psi depends upon x, y, z and t, that psi with the bold font here, that psi is a function of x, y, z and t, whereas this psi on right hand side, that is independent of t. So this time dependent factor. So in order to describe the wave nature, actually this time dependent factor, that is of this particular type, e raised to power I omega t. In order to represent that wave nature or that periodic behavior, this time dependent factor, that should be like this. If you remember those electromagnetic wave equations which we have derived with the help of Maxwell equations, at that point I have explained that how with the help of a second order partial differential equation you are getting wave nature, and at that point I have explained there that only this type of solution that will represent the wave nature, because if you will simplify this e raised to power I omega t, that will be like cos omega t plus I sin omega t, only then you will get the oscillating behavior of wave nature. So this for time dependent function, that will be of this particular type, e raised to power I omega t, or you can take e raised to power minus I omega t. Whatever you feel like taking, you can consider that, because in both the cases you are going to get oscillating behavior of wave nature, right? So what you have a general second order partial differential equation which was proposed by Schrodinger, and Schrodinger actually he generalized that equation on the basis of electromagnetic wave equations. But the difference is Schrodinger proposed this equation in terms of a mathematical function known as Schrodinger wave function, right? And the solution of that equation, that will be psi, and psi is a function of x, y, z and t. So that psi was represented as a product of two functions, where the first one is independent of t and the second one is independent of space coordinates, and that time dependent function, that will represent the oscillating behavior, and that will be of this particular type. So now what is the next step? The next step is you are having this psi which is a function of x, y, z and t. You know, this psi which is there in equation number 1, this psi is a function of x, y, z and t. This psi is a function of x, y, z and t. This psi is a function of x, y, z and t. And again this psi is a function of x, y, z and t. So now you know what is the value of psi. Now just differentiate that psi with respect to x 2 times, with respect to y 2 times, with respect to z 2 times and with respect to t 2 times. And after getting those differentials, partial derivatives, just substitute all those values in this equation and you will get a time independent form of Schrodinger equation. So what you have to do? You have to differentiate this equation number 3. You have to differentiate it with respect to x, with respect to y, with respect to z, with respect to t 2 times. So first one is we are differentiating it with respect to x 2 times. So when you are differentiating psi with respect to x, you know on right hand side, only this psi is a function of x and this one is independent of x. So it will remain as a constant, it will remain as it is, only the derivative of this psi. So you are getting this. When you will differentiate one time, you will get del psi upon del x equal to del psi upon del x into e raised to pi omega t. If you will differentiate it second time, then you will get this del square psi upon del x square equal to del square psi upon del x square e raised to power I omega t. Similarly, differentiate it with respect to y, differentiate it with respect to z 2 times. After differentiating with respect to y and z, you will get this, right? And instead of this d upon dx, we are going to use your partial derivatives. Why I am saying so? Because psi is a function of x, y and z, but you are differentiating this psi only with respect to x. So instead of this, you can use here partial derivative. So these are partial derivatives. Del square psi upon del x square equal to del square psi upon del x square e raised to power I omega t. And you should know what is the difference between this psi and this psi. This psi on left hand side, it is a function of x, y, z as well as t, whereas the psi on right hand side, that is only a function of x, y and z independent of t, right? So you are getting equation number 4, 5 and 6, and you are getting these equations by differentiating 3 with respect to x, y and z. Now we have to differentiate it with respect to t. So sorry, when you are differentiating it with respect to t, you know that psi is, this particular psi is independent of t, so now it will remain as a constant. If you will differentiate it one time with respect to t, the derivative of this will be e raised to power I omega t into I omega. Again differentiate, this will remain constant, e raised to power I omega t. I omega is already there and 1 I omega, that will be in multiplication again. So you are getting I square omega square psi e raised to power I omega t. So after differentiating, you are getting I square omega square psi e raised to power I omega t. And you know what is I square? I square is minus, sorry, give me 1 minute. I square is, I is iota here, so I square is minus 1. So using that logic, you are getting this del square psi upon del t square is equal to minus omega square psi e raised to power I omega t. Now what you have to do? Use equation number 7, 6, 5 and substitute all these values. Just use these and substitute all these values in equation number 1. So when you will substitute all these in equation number 1, you are going to get this del square psi upon del x square plus del square psi upon del y square plus del square psi upon del z square. All these psi's, they are independent of t, x, y, z, and there will be e raised to power I omega t. So all the terms, they contains e raised to power I omega t, that is taken as common. And on the right hand side, you have 1 upon v square. In the equation you have, this is del square psi 1 upon v square, del square psi upon del t square. So you have to substitute now del square psi upon del t square. So this here, this one is not correct. You will get only psi e raised to power I omega t here. So you are getting psi e raised to power I omega t. So e raised to power I omega t is this, e raised to power I omega t this. On both the sides you are getting e raised to power I omega t, this will get cancelled and you will get del square psi plus transfer this term to the left hand side plus omega square v square psi equals to 0. Right? Why you have written this del square psi? Because all these operators, because your del square is del square upon del x square plus del square upon del y square plus del square upon del z square. So Laplacian operator is this. So we can replace that operator here. So you are getting del square psi plus omega square v square psi equals to 0, where del square equals to this. Now you are getting this equation number 9. We have to just simplify this equation because we want to write this equation in terms of energy. So in order to convert it in terms of energy, we are taking this factor omega upon v. You know omega is the angular frequency, and angular frequency, that can be written as, angular frequency is 2 pi into f. F is the linear frequency, and you know that the product of frequency and wavelength is equal to velocity. So the frequency will be equal to velocity upon wavelength. So this is 2 pi v upon lambda. So this is the value of omega. What I am telling you, omega is the angular frequency, which is 2 pi times linear frequency. Product of frequency and wavelength is velocity. So f is equal to v upon lambda. So 2 pi v upon lambda. So what will be omega square upon v square? That will be equal to 4 square pi square, and instead of lambda we are going to write here h upon p. So you are getting here this 4 pi square h square p square. So we know that the total energy that can be written as kinetic energy. Just give me one minute. You know that omega upon v is equal to 2 pi nu upon v, right? And this is equal, or you can say 2 pi frequency upon this velocity. So you know that this 2 pi and frequency upon velocity is wavelength, and you know this wavelength is h upon p. So you have this omega square upon v square as p square upon h cross square, because this h cross is, you can write h cross as h upon 2 pi or simply h square upon 4 pi square. So using this logic you are getting this omega square upon v square is equal to, omega square upon v square is 4 pi square p square upon h square, and instead of this 4 pi square upon h square I am writing there h cross square. You know that total energy is equal to kinetic plus potential energy, and kinetic energy is p square upon 2m plus potential energy. So what will be p square? It will be 2m times E minus B, where E is the kinetic energy here. So this is 2m E minus, sorry, E is the total energy there, and V is the potential energy. So 2m into E minus B. So next one is, just substitute the value of p square here. This is p square. So you will get here, this equation will get simplified, and you will get omega square upon v square, that was equal to, omega square upon v square was equal to 4 pi square p square upon h square. So now you have to substitute this p square, and p square that was equal to this, only this p square that was equal to 2m times E minus V. So just substitute it, and after substituting you are getting this 8 pi square m E minus V upon h square, and you know h cross is h upon 2 pi. So this is simply 2m upon h cross square E minus V. So this is your omega square upon V square. So just substitute this omega square upon V square in this equation. Equation is del square psi plus omega square upon V square psi equals to 0. So you have to substitute this value of omega square upon V square. So you are getting del square psi plus 2m E minus V upon h cross square psi equals to 0. Now you can see here the psi in this equation. Psi is totally independent of t. It is a function of x, y and z. Means if you will simplify equation number 10, you will get the value of psi, and that psi will be independent of t. So equation 10 is Schrodinger time independent wave equation for a particle, and if you are having a free particle, then for a free particle this potential energy will be 0. So if this is the case, then equation will take this form, del square psi plus 2me upon h cross square psi equals to 0. So this is your time independent Schrodinger wave equation in 3 dimension. And if you want to write, or if you want to represent this equation in 1 dimension, so how you will represent that equation? This is in 3 dimension. So in 1 dimension, when particle is moving, when its motion is confined only along one direction, this will be del square psi upon del x square plus 2m upon h cross square E minus V psi equals to 0. And what is the difference in equation number 10 and this equation? The difference is, in this equation psi is a function of x only, whereas in equation number 10 psi is a function of x, y and z. So what we have done, we have taken that general Schrodinger wave equation which was proposed by Schrodinger on the basis of electromagnetic wave equation. In that equation psi is a function of x, y, z and t. So we have represented that psi as a product of two functions, where the first one independent of time and the second one independent of space coordinates, and that time dependent function, that is e raised to power I omega t. So what we have done, we have differentiated that psi with respect to x, y, z and t two times, and after differentiating we are substituting it back into the general equation, and after simplifying you are getting del square psi plus omega square v square psi equals to 0. After that you have to simplify this omega square upon v square in order to get the value of that term in terms of energy. So finally you are getting this equation, and if you will carefully see this equation, it is totally independent of time coordinate. No function is depending upon time, no operator is depending upon time. So whenever you have a particle where the energy of particle is not changing with time, it is independent of time, you will apply this equation in 3 dimension, and in 1 dimension you will apply this equation. So to describe the wave nature for a moving microscopic particle where the energy is independent of time, you are going to apply this equation, and after simplifying you will get the wave function for such type of system. So in next lecture we will derive time dependent equation, and after that we will apply these equations in the in practical applications, right? So that's all for today. Thank you so much.